Saturday Night Fever or India?
Yeah.
Sounds off colors.
Thank you, have a good one.
Good show, guys.
Because of the amount of props and the amount of sets that we have, there was no stage left for the orchestra. So we moved them into the backstage area, so they're actually with the cast. The Liberty is unique, no other ship has that.
The configuration for the music of shows on ships is that they do play with a click track. However, that being said, it is a live band, and they are incredible because you really can't tell a lot of times that they're there because they're so good. There are things that we can do in the cruise ship world that you can't do on the West End stage where you're limited to so many numbers of musicians. This is a much more cinematic approach, and so they're all new arrangements, which is kind of exciting as well, because there has actually never been a version like this done anywhere in the world.
There's so much to get done, and there's so many details to attend to, not just actually staging or choreography, but everything that it takes to get it onto the ship, the costumes right down to the shoes, the wigs, details of the props.
I forget how many small props, it's into like the thousands, you know. There's a lot of small props. The bigger props like this, the stage crew handle. For the smaller props, most cast members are responsible for their own props. So like Mama's got her own pram and she looks and maintains a little pram. We have one of the cast members whose job it is just to look after and maintain the wigs. We have one cast member whose job, or actually on this cast there's two cast members who are costumers to maintain the costumes, to fix the costumes and setting break.
Typically they have cast sizes of around 14 to 16. On this particular one, we went into a vessel for the first time that we brought in 24. And that was a massive challenge for the operational side of ship, because real estate is actually the problem here. There's only so many cabins to go around. And so adding suddenly, an extra 10 bodies to one department was a huge challenge for the ship. For casting, we go all over the world.
In Canada, in Toronto, we go into Brazil, we go to Argentina, we go to Italy, we go to Australia. We used to go a couple times also in the Philippines.
We go to London and to New York, LA upon occasion, Chicago.
Everywhere, all around the world.
Huge challenge for casting musicals out here is that everybody has to double and triple in their duties. So they have jazz sets that they have to do, so they can't just be right for the mother of Tony. They have to also be able to pull off swing music and feel comfortable in a cabaret setting. We have dancers who also have to fly in the other show, but they have to be characters in the show and be able to pull that off. So you have a very limited range of parameter in terms of how you even try to cast it.
The dancers and the actors are really world class. This is what you would find on Broadway.
Each cast that comes on brings a completely different aspect and a different energy.
I'm Nick Hayes and I'm playing Tony Manero in Saturday Night Fever. I've got quite a history with the show actually. I trained at a theatre school in London and I graduated early so that I could come and do this show in the West End.
I'm Ashley and I play the role of Stephanie Mangano in Saturday Night Fever. I love the relationships. It basically gets a chase the whole way through, but there's always really a connection there, which is really nice because you get to play off of a connection that you're trying to hide, and it's always nice to see, I think, to see an actor really try and suppress an emotion, because it's really interesting to watch. And the guy that plays Tony is amazing, and we get on really well as people, so it's easier to play off each other as characters.
My name is Ariana Whitlow, and I play Annette in Saturday Night Fever. She grew up with Tony and all of his gang. She's known them her whole life, and she's just trying to be one of the boys, one of the gang, and she is completely, utterly infatuated with Tony Manero. Her journey is sort of not quite a tragic one, but a painful one, and she tends to comfort herself with things like Drinking. Not excessively though.
I'm David Sattler and I play the DJ Monty. I also play the role of Frank Sr. Frank Sr. is Tony Manero's father, and he is a very domineering head of the household, very typically Italian father, very controlling, very physical.
My name's Lyn O Hara and I'm playing Flo Manero, the mother in Saturday Night Fever. I think she buries her head in the sand and tries not to think about the kind of lifestyle that he's got, because he's very, very alien to the kind of life that she leads with her husband, Frank Sr. The makeup and the costume are absolutely essential to this part for me because I have to age up considerably. And also I think it reflects the kind of lifestyle that she's had. You know, she's got a very hard, poor family life and very worn down. So everything in real life that I try and combat, i.e. aging, like blue under the eyes, etc., I can now highlight. And so I spend a lot of time making my face. I put on a good base, and then I tend to darken under the eyes and highlight any wrinkles that are already forming naturally. Obviously, then having the wig really helps as well.
In Saturday Night Fever, I play Father Frank Jr., who is Tony's older brother and a little bit of his confidant. He is able to kind of talk with him about the mistakes he made and how it didn't have to be that way, that struggle didn't have to exist, that Tony could be who he wants to be, which is a dancer, an amazing dancer. I think Frank Jr. Grew up sort of making his parents happy, and that's what you did. I mean, Saturday Night Fever takes place in the 70s, and I think right before that era was a time where people just grew up and did what they were told and did what their parents wanted them to.
He's from a very working class family, Tony Manero. He's stuck in this sort of small town mentality, and he knows he wants to break out and do something more, but all he knows is seeing his friends and his family just stuck in this, you know, rat race.
He thinks he's sure of himself, but all the sort of trials and tribulations along the way show him that actually he's not maybe who he thought he was, and he has so much more to give. It's a really nice story, and when you watch the whole story through, it's a great journey.
That's why he sort of really falls in love with Stephanie, because she shows him a world that he doesn't have, and she shows him opportunity and the fact that he could make more of himself.
My favorite scenes are the ones that take place between Tony and Stephanie, who is his love interest, and sort of an odd love, and they find each other at an odd place in both of their lives. I find those scenes so rich with who both those characters are, and you probably see more of who Tony Manero is within those moments.
I love the Manero house scene, the first one, when they're all slapping each other across the table and just really showing what Italian family life was like in the 70s, and I always get a good laugh out of it.
My favorite scene, I would have to say, is Disco Inferno. I get to sing a great song with all the dancers around me, dancing their little butts off, and it's a lot of fun. I get to interact a little bit with the cast within the song as well, so that's fun.
I do love Neighborhood and You Should Be Dancing. It's a big moment where you see Tony shine throughout it, and you know the dancers are just there reflecting and having a great time. It's a big competition scene too, so it turns into this massive dance at the end.
The thing that impressed me very much about Royal Caribbean was the support system. We also have dialect coaches who were excellent, who came down and really worked with us on the accent, which, of course, for a girl from Yorkshire in England, is completely different, this Bay Ridge, New York accent.
This amazing woman came in and went through all of the dialogue phonetically, so we could really get it into our bodies, into our muscle memory. Also, there was lots of watching sort of New Yorky programs, and there's a couple of girls in the cast who are from sort of that area, so they helped a lot as well. They all laugh now because I'll be giving it like, you ain't going back, and they'll be like, was I right then? I'll just like switch straight out of it, and Lauren, our director, found it hilarious that I would sort of switch so quickly.
I'm from Canada, and picking up the Brooklyn accent was actually not as hard as I thought it was going to be, because I am obsessed with the movie My Cousin Vinny, so I imitate Marissa Tomei quite often when I'm at home. You can ask my husband. So I'm always walking around just talking like this. My mom likes to imitate it too, so we have banter in the kitchen, just talking.
The easiest way for me to get the New York accent is when I say coffee, because it's coffee, and I have to say like office. So all the O's kind of get me into the accent. So if I ever slip out of it, I'm like, coffee, coffee, coffee. And then I can kind of get back into it again.
Between In the Air and the jazz sets and then doing this Saturday Night Fever show, it's a lot of entertaining and a lot of different entertaining, so it's nice to get that variety of experience.
Doing In the Air as a review show, it was really difficult for me. I trained to be in musicals and to be in plays, so I found it really daunting at first. It's actually a really great experience to try something like that I've never ever done before.
That is such an amazing show. I think especially for the dancers, I don't think people realize that they're not aerialists necessarily, and so they've spent too much just training on that, on becoming these spectacular aerialists. They're like, they blow my mind. They're very talented.
I think it's so much fun because in the air you're able to be different characters and sort of larger than life, whereas Saturday Night Fever you get to focus in on the people who you're playing.
It's really allowed me to explore a different side of performing and investing in one character and really just like digging deep into someone else's emotion and acting, which is not something that I've done very much of.
I'm also the lead singer for Captain's Cocktail. It's very glamorous. I spent hours on my hair trying to make it look fixed and glamorous. So it's very different to Flow. So that's really exciting and it's really good fun.
The jazz sets are one of my favorite things because you really just get to be yourself and tell jokes and, you know, be your own personality. And you get to actually see people up close, like be in their face, which I like doing.
I know the director, Lauren Van Brink, wanted to have a side-by-side interaction with the movie with this musical in general, and I think they did a wonderful job in keeping the integrity of the storyline as well as incorporating a lot for a cruise ship audience.
They basically kept all the amazing stuff in and got rid of the stuff that isn't so good, so it's just, it moves quick, it's got real pace to it. It's amazing.
Everything is so genuine. I think they paid a lot of attention to detail when they put things together.
They really went to town on it, and it's a big West End Broadway show on a ship.
Any musical, any show, any live performance you will ever see, it is different every night. And that's what the beauty is of art.
We perform because we love it, but we also perform to make other people feel good. So when we see the audience really enjoying themselves, that's the most rewarding thing for us. So get involved, clap your hands, jump or dance in the aisles, whatever, doesn't matter. Just as long as you have a smile on your face.
Did I do okay? Am I off?
Hi, Mum.
2010.
Salute. They're going crazy down there.
I also really enjoyed this one, but I can't do it. I feel a bit like I'm from the Muppet Show.
Ship shop, ship shape. Tip shop, what do I say? Tip shop.
Oh no.
Tip top shape.
I don't know if this is going to work. It being on a boat, you know, a ship. Sorry, it's not a boat, it's a ship.
Don't drink and act either.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what is that?
There's some crackers.
Put that in the video.
Saturday Night Fever don't need that.
And cut.